embrace the possibilities.
Let's make the future for 360 film.
I think we should do our cities and buildings differently.
This is my message. Think.
Development for me means increase in complexity.
It's a simple addition for a designer, but it saves a lot of time in practice.
Why is the resident not so clever?
So this could be interesting for you as well.
So my topic tonight is functional projects. Start early, start positive, and tell the truth. I run a project management company, and we are dedicated to refits and new builds. But the challenge that we have is how do we design a functional project, because it doesn't just happen. So I'd like to talk to you about these three things, which I think are important elements. Why does this matter to me? I graduated from university and I knew nothing about people management. And after a time, it became really apparent that this was really critical to us. How can I do a better job for both my clients and myself? Next question, why does this matter to you? All of us in this room are more or less connected in some way to the marine industry. And that means that everything that we do means that we're connected in a project, whether we're designers, yards, contractors, we are all linked, and that's really critical. And it becomes almost a bit like a marriage, so we need to prevent marital breakdown. I do not believe that good and functional are equivalent. Functional to me embodies a complex set of matrices and metrics. Good, it's a bit subjective, depends on the point of view, and it's not based on anything that we can really measure. And as such, I think it's more important to look at functional projects in the sense of how the tangible and intangible variables combine. And the interesting piece is, in our industry, everything is unique. Each project is different, and they will combine differently. And it's that interaction in each project that tells us whether it was functional or not. Tangibles are the easy ones, and they bore us. Spreadsheets, Gantt charts, budgets. We all fall over in the data. We drowned in the data. But it's things we can measure and quantify. So us engineering kids, we kind of like it because we can measure it. But is that really what it's all about? I think we need to focus more on intangibles. Intangibles, expectations, satisfaction, conflict resolution. Can't really define them very well, but we know that when we start a project, we turn on the blender, throw them all in, and what pops out the bottom is perception. And that perception actually is more important in many ways than the facts, because we can have an owner, for example, who's unhappy. This is a key piece. Every decision we make on a project impacts another stakeholder. You're a yard, you make this decision, subcontractor is impacted. All of this counts, and there is a definite domino effect in play, and we need to be more aware of it. Conflict. Broad brushstrokes, people love it, people avoid it. But aggression and indifference are equally harmful, and neither have a place in a project. We manage conflict correctly by not letting it get out of control and not letting it devolve into an emotional argument. Functional projects. We all want to believe that we're part of functional projects. The following slides are a few indicators. For me, they act as a bit of a litmus test. But again, I need to be clear. This is my personal work project of understanding. This is not a project management manual. Group expectation management. It's critical to differentiate this from just expectation management. This has to work within a very complex system, and it's a changing system. So the expectations, they vary, and you want to hear consistent goals from the stakeholders. The owner and the welder need to tell you the same delivery date. They can't be 6 months apart. I like this one. Trust is the absence of fear. We have to have trust in our projects among the various stakeholders. When teams operate correctly and they embody that trust, it gives you a platform to deal with things when they get messy. This should raise some eyebrows. 60% of the job description is managing the intangibles, in my opinion. 40% is the technical qualifications. Projects are never delivered by a single person, but one person can sink a project. We need to manage those intangibles. I love walking into a project where egos are checked at the door, reasonable minds prevail, and there's a willingness and ability to see the other side's perspective in any dispute. Those projects function. And when we lose the diplomacy, we also lose our ability to foster the long-term relationships that we need in this industry. What chance do we have? Can you change it? Can I change it? Can we only change it if we're a big company? I believe we all have a chance to impact this because it starts with us. It's a very grassroots movement. And if we don't address it here, we can't expect it to go anywhere else. So, to the mantra, start early. We say it, everybody talks about it, but what do? What do we do in our individual work, jobs, contracts to seek out those points where we can be proactive? It's not hard. We all say it, but I think it takes another mention. Start positive. Be a solution maker, not a problem maker. Anyone can identify problems, but if we show up with passion and enthusiasm, we have an opportunity to sweep people along with sheer energy alone. And that doesn't even include the good it does us, because we show up with a good attitude and we feel better. And this is my favorite. Tell the truth. Say the unsayable. We need to get to the point where we recognize a project can never ever be functional if we don't have honest communication. Now, this is not a license to avoid tact and diplomacy, by no means, but those are also not a bar to telling the truth and saying the unsayable. And again, perfect is not the enemy of functional. It's a continuum. This is an imperfect process, and if we focus on having something that's functional rather than having something that's perfect, we just might get there. That's my presentation. I would love very much to hear from you. Please find me, because I'm sure you have something to say about my ideas. And also I'd like to thank VriThink for inviting us all out here tonight. It's been a fabulous evening. Thank you.